cortex of your brain produces energy. That energy is finite. So you can only produce a certain gigahertz per second, electricity. That electricity powers you. Everything from heartbeat, breath, but also your cognitive function. Supposedly, I think 80-something% goes to cognitive function, which is interesting, right? Well, you know that. So that said, human beings are incredibly energy efficient. We're constantly pulling energy from where we don't need it to where we need it because it's finite and you can't go and get a RAM upgrade. So what that means is that if you do things that are very mental, your body will pull energy from where it's not needed. That makes perfect sense, right? And so that isn't the problem. That's actually elegant and well-designed and whatever, right? The problem is twofold, if we want to call it a problem. It is a problem if you can't stop scrolling, right? The problem is twofold. One is that where your reproductive organs and your pleasure centers and your vitality centers sit is typically where the body pulls the energy from when you are doing mental work because you're seated and you don't need it down there, right? So meaning if I sit in a chair for 10 hours on my computer writing things, other than basic function, my body's parked. And so it will pull from the body, and of course the more you do something, the more that becomes the predominant pattern. And of course the more you do this becomes the predominant pattern. And then you don't have an embodiment muscle anymore, so to speak. Your embodiment muscle is atrophied and your mind muscle is huge. I always joke, you're like one of those dudes in the gym who only does chest day and completely neglects the legs, right? So you have these spindly little legs and hips energetically, right? And you got this massive up like neck trap head situation. So that's one issue, of course. And then the other issue is that when you overload that system, meaning when you do more of that thinking, doing, speaking, device, blah, 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 overload, external sound, what happens is your body, of course, begins clenching to get and squeezing to get the last bit of energy from the lower body. And now you have habitual clench, particularly on your pelvic floor. Never mind trauma and shit like that, but just a clench on the pelvic floor to get the energy up, to get the energy through the core of your body. Everything gets tight. Your solar plexus is tight. Your chest is tight. The muscles get tight because, of course, all of this doesn't just happen energetically. It happens in the muscles. It happens in the nervous system. It happens in the brain. So eventually what you end up having is somebody who has a habitual clench and contraction upwards, and then often, because of the way people sit, this is one of those things that you realize yogically as well as biomechanically, you're actually blocking the downward flow, right? This here blocks the downward flow. This here blocks the downward flow. This here blocks the downward flow. Just energetically, if you don't have an open, relaxed, channel, so to speak, that includes your throat and all of that, you're going to clench that, like to squeeze the flow off. And then people, of course, have TMJ, and they, everything gets tight because the energy is pooled now. It's no longer equally distributed, and that's why a lot of people have chronic neck, shoulder, TMJ, whatever issues. Now, in a male physiology, because of the endocrine system, that plays a bit different than in a female physiology because of the endocrine system. So we suffer much quicker and much more profound from this being dead. And dead, I'm metaphorically speaking. So, and then of course trauma plays a role, and your general endocrine system and all of that. But that's why I'm saying, and people always kind of, it's so funny because people go, oh, these practices are so simple. I need something much more complicated, right? Like I need to feel spiritually advanced when I practice. Like there's all of that shit that happens to people. But I mean, if you've once seen the power of 5 minutes of hip circles on somebody's entire physiology, you're never going to forget that, in the sense that you'll remember, right, in your own physiology, that that's the thing to do. And it's so simple and it's doable, and you can do it every single day, every single hour, and it makes a huge difference. And that's the mechanism behind it. I call it energy distribution. I have a whole chapter in my book about it. Well, it makes it addictive because it's not coming down, so it's running. It's like a hamster wheel, so to speak. And so the only way to discharge the energy is to use it, right? So because you have that energy and it just circles, and you need to discharge it. And how do you discharge it? By using it. So what do? More scrolling, more. I always tell the story of having been, this was after the writing actually, all my emails were in my inbox when I came back from my writing sabbatical. And one day I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do them all. Because I tend towards, some pretty extreme sports. And one of my not chosen extreme sports is wiping out an inbox, right? So took all day. I sat and I sat and I sat and I sat. And it's like 10 in the evening, and it's finally empty, this motherfucker. If you think I got up and moved my body, you are mistaken. I was like, and then one came in, and I was like, erasing it. And then another one came in, and I was answering it. And this went on for another half hour, where I was like obsessively wiping that inbox back out, instead of getting up and moving my body. Yeah. So that's and that you have to understand these things, and they have physiological and endocrine reasons and all of that. But the easiest way to remember it is energy distribution and energy use, because that anybody can understand, even if they are not clued into anything else. Your body knows, and all you need to do is give the body the chance to do what the body does best. You don't even know how to do it or what to do it. You just need to go, okay, this is a little bit like, how does your body know what to do with water? Right? I mean, you don't go, okay, I have a glass. I'm now going to activate this muscle this way, and then I'm doing this, and then I'm taking a breath while I'm activating my mouth, and then my tongue does this, and then my esophagus does this, and then, you don't know. You don't need to know. You just need to know your body. When you drink water, that water goes places, and your body can function. You don't drink water, your body goes places, and you don't function, right?